Man, you finally done it. You saved up for that down payment, you signed what felt like an absolute mountain of paperwork, and you actually got the keys to your very first home. First off, welcome to this explainer. I am so thrilled you're here. Because stepping into U.S. homeownership is it's a huge milestone. But, as you're settling in and taking a hard look at your finances, you might notice something a little surprising. You look at the numbers and realize your monthly mortgage payment is actually quite a bit higher than just the cost of the loan itself. If you're feeling a bit of sticker shock right now, trust me, you are completely normal. The hidden culprit taking up a big chunk of that monthly payment, it's something called property taxes. And if you've ever looked at a tax bill and felt like you were reading a totally different language, honestly, don't worry at all. We're going to break the whole shebang down today. Here is our quick roadmap for today. We'll cover the basics, do the math together, compare market versus assessed value, talk about escrow, outline missed payments, and finally, bust some myths and share some pro tips. Okay, let's jump straight into Section 1, the basics of property taxes. Let's start right at the beginning. What actually are these fees charged by your local government? Well, to really get it, think back to the last time you grabbed food at a restaurant. You spot this amazing-looking burger for $15 on the menu, right? But when the final bill actually comes to the table, it's $16.50. Why? Sales tax. Property taxes work in a very similar way. They are simply fees charged by your local government on the real estate you own. Whether it's your primary house, a vacation spot, or even just a vacant piece of dirt, if you own it, you're almost certainly going to owe taxes on it every single year. Now, this money isn't just disappearing into some giant black hole. Property taxes are actually the primary way local governments fund the essential services that make your community a place you, actually want to live. A massive slice of the pie goes to public schools and teachers, followed by emergency services, like your local police and fire departments. Then you've got infrastructure, like fixing those incredibly annoying potholes, and public spaces. Think libraries and parks. And because every single town's budget is totally unique, this is exactly why property tax rates differ so wildly from one county or state to the next. Even if you don't have kids in the local school system or you never set foot in the park, you're still required to pay because these services keep your entire community clean, safe, and functional. Moving right along to Section 2, doing the property tax math. All right, time for the math. Now, please try not to panic. I promise it's super easy. Unfortunately, Benjamin Franklin kind of hit the nail on the head when he said nothing is certain except death and taxes, so we might as well learn how to calculate them, right? Your tax bill is determined by a simple formula, your home's assessed value multiplied by the tax rate. Now, this local tax rate is often called a millage rate, or mills. 1 mil is simply $1 of tax for every $1,000 of your home's assessed value. Let's build out a real-world mathematical example to make this crystal clear. Imagine your local government comes in and assesses your brand new home's value at exactly $200,000. Next, let's introduce our tax rate. We are going to say your specific local area has a 20 mil tax rate. So how do we actually do the math? First, we take your home's assessed value, that $200,000, and divide it by 1,000. That gives us 200. Then we simply multiply that 200 by our rate of 20 mils. And boom, there you have it. That simple calculation reveals a final yearly tax bill of $4,000. It's absolutely that straightforward once you know the formula. Just for a quick comparison, if your local tax rate was a straight 1% instead of the 20 mils, your bill on that exact same $200,000 home would just be $2,000. Up next, Section 3, Market versus Assessed Value. Now, this is a massive point of confusion for so many new buyers. You might be sitting there thinking, wait a minute, I just bought my house for $300,000. Why in the world is the government's math saying it's only worth $200,000? Well, it comes down to two entirely different concepts. Market value is what a buyer is actually willing to pay for your home right now out in the real world, based on the current economy and what the house next door just sold for. But assessed value? That is a figure used entirely and uniquely for taxes. Local assessors look at your home's specific size, its age, its condition, and they use that to come up with this specific number. So the really crucial point here is that in a lot of areas, the assessed value is actually lower than the market value. And hey, that is a very good thing for your tax bill. Plus, to protect homeowners from massive sudden tax hikes, some states even have laws that strictly limit how much your assessed value is legally allowed to go up each year. Moving right along to Section 4, Managing Payments with Escrow. So how are these incredibly large bills actually paid? Well, thankfully, you usually don't have to write one giant painful check every single year. Most homeowners use what's called an escrow account. When you pay your monthly mortgage, your lender actually collects 1/12 of your estimated annual property taxes. They take that little fraction and put it into a completely separate escrow bucket. Then when the giant tax bill finally comes due, the lender pays it for you automatically using that money you've been saving up. It's this brilliant set-it-and-forget-it system that really helps you budget. But a quick warning here. Keep a close eye on your mail. If your taxes go up because your home was recently reassessed, your monthly mortgage payment is going to increase to cover that gap.
All right, Section 5. What if you miss payments?
Look, life happens. We all know that. Sometimes finances get tight, but property taxes are an obligation you simply cannot ignore. If you fall behind, the clock starts ticking. Within months, you'll face late fees and interest that just keep growing the longer you wait. Next, the government can place a legal claim called a tax lien on your home. This is severe. It basically makes it almost impossible to sell or refinance your house until that debt is completely paid off. Finally, in absolute extreme cases, it leads to foreclosure, where the government literally sells your home at a public auction to recover the taxes you owe. Listen, if you're struggling, the absolute best thing you can do is reach out to your local tax office immediately. Many jurisdictions offer payment plans to help you catch up before things ever get this serious. Let's wrap things up with Section 6, Pro Tips and Common Myths. Let's inject some energy back into things and rapidly debunk 3 major property tax misconceptions. Myth number 1. Property taxes always go down. The reality? They almost never do. As home values and the costs of city services rise, taxes usually follow right behind them. Myth number 2, I only pay taxes to the state. We saw this earlier. The reality is that most property taxes actually stay strictly local, funding your specific town, county, and school district. In myth number 3, new homes have lower taxes. Actually, it's often the exact opposite. New builds are frequently assessed at way higher rates than older homes sitting in the exact same neighborhood. And that leads us perfectly into 3 absolutely crucial pro tips. Number 1, research the tax history before you buy. Seriously, ask your real estate agent for the home's past tax bills so you aren't blindsided later. Number 2, look for and apply for exemptions. Lots of states offer homestead exemptions, which actually lower taxes on your primary residence, alongside special breaks for seniors, veterans, and folks with disabilities. And number 3, appeal if necessary. If you honestly think the government's assessment of your home's value is way too high, you can actively appeal it. Doing that can potentially lower your bill and seriously protect your investment. Understanding property taxes might seem a bit like a giant puzzle at first, but knowing the basics lets you budget so much more effectively. So I want to leave you with this one provocative question to chew on. Are you leaving thousands of dollars on the table by missing out on local property tax exemptions? Seriously, go check your local guidelines today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Knowledge is absolute power, especially when it comes to your home. So keep exploring these homeownership topics, and I'll catch you next time.